How good is this team, Calvin? How good is this
Very
Rockets
good.
team?
Very, very, very good. First of all, I tell everyone, this is no fluke. Everybody thinks they're riding a wave right now. They are surely legitimate. And when you start talking about the upcoming playoffs, and of course, Golden State being the front runners on paper, the Rockets right now are the front runners on court. That's what I tell everyone.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes down to it, Calvin, what makes this team so good?
Well, first of all, the system. You know, the Rockets started off the season with we're going to outshoot everybody, outscore everyone. And as they went along, then they started drafting defensive players like P.J. Tucker to come into the system and Mute and things of that nature. So they put their tremendous offense with some defensive players on the court that also can shoot, and their defense improved so much that now it's hard to match up against them.
And is Harden a different player?
Oh, absolutely. And what makes him a different player is he's more confident in his teammates, and he feels now that he doesn't have to do it all by himself. The greatest move the Rockets made for James Harden was CP3, Chris Paul.
Why is that?
Well, first of all, now you can't double and triple team James Harden anymore because you got a future Hall of Famer on the other side of that court. And with that being said, if the right hand don't get you, then the left hand will.
Calvin Murphy, Pro Basketball Hall of Famer here on the Rich Eisen Show, because the narrative just a couple of years ago is that Harden wasn't even really trying, right? That there was something wrong with him there in Houston. And it just seems last year he had a Hall of Fame, an MVP season if it wasn't for all the triple-doubles out of Oklahoma City. And now this year he's just taken it to a whole different level.
Well, you know, when you start talking about James Harden of the past, you're talking about two different players. James Harden has always been a player, since he's been in the Rockets uniform, that has felt that he had so much on his shoulders. He had to carry the whole franchise. Well, that's not his outlook anymore. And with that being said, when you look at the players they put around him, any night one of them can come up with a big game, and he recognizes that now. So what he's doing, he's just free-stroking. There's no real pressure on him anymore to take it upon himself to lead this team to the promised land. He knows now it's going to be a 15-man show. And with that being said, if you look at his demeanor, if you look at his body language game times, there's no urgency. There's nothing but let me stay within the system. The coach does a heck of a job. D'Antoni does a heck of a job with his matchups from game to game, the combinations he puts on the floor. And, of course, now James Harden is the ace in the hole. He doesn't have to be the whole show.
Calvin Murphy joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. How do you think they match up against Golden State, 7-game series? Because let's just skip around a brass tacks. That's what it looks like it might have to come down to here, Calvin.
Well, you know, first of all, it's unfortunate that one of these teams are going to go home before the finals because they're both in the West, which I think is unfortunate. I think when they come up with a new system and the two best teams end up in the finals would be a better situation for the NBA right now. But to answer your question and not to skip around it, Golden State is not the team that, of course, they're still a great team, but they're not the team they were the last couple of years. One reason is people don't fear them anymore. You know, and when I say that, you fear against a team that you don't expect to beat is worth from 5 to 8 points a game. So now Golden State has got to play teams, and teams come at them real hard. Well, the Rockets feel that way also. Now, if you go back a few years, if I can skip a few years back, during the time when the league had the Bulls with Michael Jordan, and they were running ran-shot through the league, the Rockets always matched up well against them, and the Rockets were able to beat them during the regular season. Now, with that being said, of course, Jordan leaves. Olajuwon becomes the man. They win 2 championships. And people talk about, well, if Jordan was there, would the Rockets had won? Well, my answer to that question still is absolutely, because of the matchup situations. Golden State has a great defensive team. The Rockets have a great defensive and a good defensive team. So with that being said, it overrides what Golden State has done in the past. Look, everything is about perception. And everybody feels that great Golden State is invincible. That's not the case anymore. They're a great team, but they are no longer invincible.
I can't wait. I hope they do face one another. It's entirely, you never know, obviously, but right now it looks like they're on a collision course. What Harden did to Wesley Johnson, Calvin, does that ring a bell? Anything that you've ever seen? What's the worst, I guess, ankle breaking and posterizing you've ever seen?
Let me give you my opinion of that. I've seen Harden do worse things to people than that. I actually think the young man fell down. He got his feet twisted up and fell down. Mm-hmm. It went viral, and everybody made such a big deal out of it. I didn't. But I've seen Harden hurt some people's feelings in the past. So,
what's the worst feelings? What's the worst feelings you've ever seen hurt, either from your playing days or viewing days? What's the worst you've ever seen?
Oh, goodness gracious! I can't answer that question. I've seen some situations where you want to go home and kick the dog. So I can't answer that question. I've seen some great ball handlers. When you go all the way back to the answer, when you're talking about Iverson, and then when of course, James Harden, and then I've seen one of my favorite players in Mad Max, who played with the Rockets, Vernon Maxwell, do some things with the ball in the past that was tremendous. During my playing time, I had little ball handling skills, and
yes.
I did a couple little things to people that they're still mad about. So,
well, I mean, look,
it's hard. It's hard to answer that question.
Okay, well, you're also a nice guy. I guess you don't want to go out and say that. You are the shortest player ever inducted in the Basketball Hall of Fame at 5'9". Calvin, what do you think of Isaiah Thomas's game? And now that he's gotten on a couple of teams and maybe perhaps another once his contract expires here in Los Angeles, what do you think of his future in this league that you could see?
Well, he's a tremendous player, obviously. I'm not big on talking about the size of a player. I talk about the ability. And if the player's size fits the system he's in. Now, the problem that Isaiah has just gotten into is getting caught on that trade with that trade mill where they're trading you here, there, and everywhere. And that hurts your ability to show your ability. When you get on a team and you got to work your way into the system, and then, next year you're someplace else. But as a pure talent, he's something special. I've always been big on left-handed players for some reason because they've always given me fits. And the teams that beat me from high school, college, and in the pros had stars that were left-handed. So I don't know what it is, but the fact of the matter is he is a tremendous ball player when he gets into a system that fits what he does. See, all teams are not for all players. And unfortunately, he got injured coming out of Boston, where he started getting his reputation. He got injured. He goes to the Cavs, which was a very, very bad situation for him, because just the whole situation wasn't going to work, from my opinion, from the very beginning. Put him behind the 8 ball. But once he gets where he is going to be and the system is made for him, he's going to be an all-star. I'm not going to say a superstar, but he's going to be an all-star.
Do you think he looks healthy to you?
I'm sorry?
Do you think he looks healthy to you, based on what you've seen of him?
I think he's out of shape. I don't think that that year off helped him any. I think he's still going to work his way into shape. One thing about the average to small player, they've got to always be in tremendous shape to play this game, because they got to use their attributes. They got to use their speed and their quickness. Now, the one thing I would like to see more of what he does is to work on that medium range jump shot. He gets inside the defense very easily, but taking the ball to the basket is going to get him hurt again.
All right, Calvin. I know you got yourself a big game tonight. Houston at Milwaukee on a back-to-back. You're watching something potentially historic unfold. Love to have you back on down the road as things get really, really serious in the playoffs.
Well, as soon as the Rockets win it, I'll be more than happy to be on your show to tell you I told you so.
Okay, my pleasure. That would be great. Thanks, Calvin. You take care. That's Calvin Murphy, at Calvin Murphy, HOF.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.